everybody, welcome back to my workshop and welcome back to my garage. This is going to be video number 2 for my Great Guitar Build Off Scratch build. And what we're going to cover is getting the body basically to this point right here. As you can see, I've got the top glued on. A really nice glue joint all the way around on this top. Couldn't be happier with that. I've also done the initial route around the edge of the guitar so I can start the carving process and basically carve down to this first route line on the body. And that's why that route's cut in there. I've also got my control cavity routed in. I'd also just like to remind everybody that for Great Guitar Build Off participants, I am offering a 25% discount on any of my Sonoran custom wound pickups. So if you are interested in some custom pickups for your build, reach out to me. I'm sure I've got something that will meet what you're looking for. But for now, let's kick back, relax, and make some sawdust. This is the body blank before I've put the top on it. So what I'm going to do with this is the same thing. I'm going to drill this cavity out because that's going to go all the way through because it's going to have the carved maple top on top of it. I'm not going to carve for the trim yet because I haven't decided what trim I'm going to put on it, but I am going to carve a slot through between the pickups so I can feed the wire through, and then again I'm going to carve a slot through to the control cavity. That way I have room to route my wires from the bridge, from the neck to the bridge to the control cavity. Here's the top for it. What I've done is I went ahead and kind of cleaned up the edges a little bit, got it closer to the line. That way when I'm doing my glue up, it's going to be a nicer glue up. I've got my locations marked on this, so once I get this put on and glued on, then I can go ahead and drill through the holes right here for my hole locations. And I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to hold off doing the pickups right now until I get the neck shaped. That way I can make sure I've got the neck heel and the neck tenon or the neck joint to the body joint perfect before all that goes together. But the goal is today is to get this body routed, get the channels cut in it, and get the top glued on. All right, that's those holes roughed out. Now all we've got to do now is just cut the channels from the pickups and then to the control cavity. There we go. Wire channel cut from the pickup through and then down to the control cavity. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put the template on and get the control cavity routed out. I'm getting ready to glue the top on. Basically I've got the body blank prepped. I've already got the control cavity hole cut out. I did cut out the channel for the pickup wires. So I've got this little bit of tape over it, and that's just to keep the glue away from the cavity when I get ready to glue everything together. I've got a couple alignment pins put in to help me align it when I get the top on. That way with the glue, the top doesn't want to slip or anything. I know it's going to stay straight. I've got it lined up on the center lines. What I did is I dry fitted it, lined it up on the center lines, and then drilled these 2 holes in the pickup cavities where the pickup cavities are. And you can see that on the top where it's in the pickup cavities. That way when I go to position the top on, I can just slide it over those dowels, and I know the top's going to stay on straight for when I clamp it. I've also cut them level already, so when I go to put my center brace on, I can get a good clamp down the center of the body. So let's get ready and glue this up. One thing I did do is I went through and checked to make sure everything had stayed straight because I had glued this top up some time ago and it did have a little bit of cupping in it. So what I did is I just ran it through my planer a couple times or my drum sander and got the back smoothed back out to take that little bit of cupping out of it because it was sitting higher in the center in the back than it was on the edges where it had cupped up. So I just ran it through my drum sander a couple times to get that down. Now it sits nice and flat, so it's going to be a good glue up. I want to make sure I get a good glue up on this because this is going to have a natural binding on it, so I'm not going to put like a plastic or an ivory road binding on it. I'm just going to use this edge of the maple because this is going to be a really nice flame maple, so that I'm going to have that edge of that showing as kind of a faux binding is my plan. So I want to make sure I get a good glue up, make sure I got good glue joints all the way around the guitar. So let's go ahead and get it set up and get ready to glue. All right, so I have all my clamps set up, get ready to go. Let's go ahead and get some glue spread on here and we'll get this thing glued up. I'm just using normal Titebond glue on this. I've cleaned both surfaces, the surface of the body and the back of the top. So we should have a good glue ready to go. Like I said, I want to make sure I got a good glue on this and a good clamp up. So I am gonna, it will be a little messy, I think, when it's all said and done, but it'll clean up nice. As you can see now why I kind of put those index marks in, because as soon as you put all this glue on there, it kind of covers up your center line, and it makes the center line a bit harder to find. Whereas having it already mocked up dry, it's going to be real easy just to glue this down now. It's a good glue spread over the entire body, all the way up to the edges. Go ahead and get that tape out of there now, and let's get the body put on. What I've got is this piece to clamp right along the middle. That's going to hold constant pressure down across the middle of the guitar. All right, let's do a quick check around the guitar. Make sure everything is good and clamped. And I've got good squeeze out. Leave this in the clamps for 24 hours. Let it dry up. Once we get that done, we'll get it on the spindle sander. Get those edges cleaned up before we go and route it smooth. That way we minimize the chances of any tear out or anything like that from the router bit catching a hold of glue bits and stuff like that. I went ahead and pulled this out of the clamps, but as you can see, we got the top glued on now. It looks like good squeeze out all the way around. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and put this on the bandsaw, trim this closer to the lines, and then run it past the oscillating sander. I'm going to try not to route this. I've been having some issues lately routing, and I've been tearing out chunks, and I really don't want to take the chance of losing a big chunk out of this, especially with the grain pattern on this maple. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my oscillating spindle sander to get this down to the line after I trim it with the bandsaw. This is all cleaned up now on the oscillating sander. Taking a look at the glue line all the way around the body. Looks really good. That was a good glue up all the way around. There are no gaps anywhere between the top and the body. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get this on the router table. I'm going to round off the edges on the back just to kind of smooth it up a little bit to make it a little bit more comfortable to handle, because right now it's the sharp edges. So I'm going to put a little bit of a bevel on the edges, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my binding bit and I'm going to go ahead and cut a channel all the way around the top of the body, leaving about 1/4 inch of the maple where the body goes. That way with that lip, that way I know where to carve to. So that way I get a uniform carve all the way around the body. So what I've got now is I've got actually my binding bit with the bearing on it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I've got it set to where I'm about 1/4 inch of maple showing. And then I'm just going to go ahead and route around the body. And I think you can see what I've done here. I've got that lip cut in there now. That way, I know that when I do my carving, I'm going to take it down to that line right there. And plus, cutting this line in is going to help alleviate chip out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one more bearing in, a slightly smaller bearing, and go a little bit deeper on this while leaving the cutter at the exact same height. I'm just going to swap out the bearing on top. That way I get a little bit more of a pronounced lip. All right, so that's going to wrap up video number 2 in my Great Guitar Build Off Scratch Build entry. I hope you enjoyed what I'm doing. If you did, click like, click subscribe, follow along with the build. I think this is going to be a fun build moving forward. In the next video, we're going to start working on the neck, getting the neck initially cut out and starting to get it to shape for the body as well, and picking out a fretboard for what we're going to do. So until next time, thank you for tuning in and take care.